So yesterday, it was interesting in Lebanon. So two things happened. One, the Lebanese bank said that, hey, we're going to shut our doors indefinitely. And secondly, the IMF in their meetings with the Lebanese government said, we're not going to give you a single iota cash. So to backtrack, let's explain what's going on with this whole Lebanese financial crisis. So we had to go back to the 90s. So in the 90s, the Lebanese government wanted to create an artificial peg of their currency, the Lebanese pound, to the USD. So they had 1,500 Lebanese pounds to the USD. So why would you want an artificial peg? Well, so a country like Lebanon, their economic fundamentals were pretty much garbage. And when your fundamentals are kind of garbage, that means your currency is in the toilet. And when your currency is in the toilet, it causes imports of goods, which are all paid in US dollars usually, to skyrocket. So it's going to cost you a lot more to bring goods into your country, which is important for a country like Lebanon, as they pretty much have to import everything from food to medicine to you name it, because they don't really produce a lot internally. So the government decided we're going to artificially prop up our money. But to artificially prop up your money versus the free float, so free float is where you allow your currency to go up and down in value along with the supply and demand of the natural marketplace. But they didn't do that. So they did the artificial peg, but to do an artificial peg costs a ton of cash. And in order to have that cash, you need ample foreign currency reserves. So the government was like, how are we going to go and get this foreign currency reserves that we need? So they came up with this crooked scheme with the Lebanese banks that the World Bank came out last month and called essentially a governmental Ponzi scheme. So what's going on with that? So the banks decided that in order to attract U.S. dollars to create accounts within them in USD, they were going to give depositors an artificially high interest rate on their deposits between 5 to 20%, which, hey, who doesn't want 5 to 20% for your cash just sitting there? I know, I certainly would. So this attracted a lot of people to deposit U.S. dollars into them. So they would take those U.S. dollars, loan it to the government to not only prop up the peg, but do a whole range of irresponsible policies, including just pocketing the cash into their own bank accounts. But these interest rates are not sustainable. So in order to pay off the original depositors, the banks would have to attract new depositors, often with higher interest rates, in order to use the new depositors' cash to pay the original depositors' interest to then pay the government. So this would create this endless cycle of just irresponsibility, which of course is not sustainable. So if you fast forward to 2019, the government of Lebanon, they're about to run out of cash. So they came up with a decision to let's go tax WhatsApp. So WhatsApp, it's not too popular in the States, but worldwide it's very popular. It's a free communication app on your cell phone. They're going to tax $6 USD per month to use it, which caused just riots and violence in Lebanon. And this was right before the pandemic. So right before the pandemic, they were running out of cash. In order to keep the cash, they wanted to limit deposits that people were allowed to withdraw money. So they could only take, if you had a Lebanese bank account, you could only take out $200 to $300 or USD a month. Fast forward to the pandemic, that limit was drawn down to zero. You're allowed to take $0 of your assets out of your own bank accounts per month. Which, how could you survive? I couldn't survive. No one could really survive in that. Or it'd be incredibly difficult, which is why the Lebanese population is now considered to be 75% of it in dire poverty. Economics are not good right now. So earlier this year, the IMF visited the Lebanese government and said, hey, we could give you a cash injection, which you need to fix a lot of your problems. But in order to do that, you have to address a lot of your fiscal irresponsibility. So fast forward to this week, where the IMF did another meeting in Beirut. The IMF told the government, hey, you've done zero, you've done zilch, you haven't done a single thing that we told you to do to address any of our qualms, so we're not going to give you any of the cash. So this is just further exacerbating the situation. Now, if we backtrack to last week, people are getting fed up. So this one woman decided to go rob a bank with a toy gun. Now, she didn't want to hurt anybody because, again, it was a toy gun, but she just only robbed the bank of her own deposits. So she took 13,000 USD of her own assets in order to pay for a family member's cancer treatment. But this sparked admiration for her across the country and caused copycats. Again, people not being greedy here, they just went and robbed banks for their own deposits. And this has been snowballing to the point that the banks this week said, hey, we are going to close indefinitely. So since the IMF or no other entity is going to inject cash in Lebanon, which why would they? It seems that the banks are going to be closed indefinitely because there's nothing going to solve this other than a huge cash injection. But I want your take. I personally think that this is just going to simmer for a while until it explodes, which will just promote regional instability, which this region doesn't need any more instability. But give me your take. I want your opinions. Also, give me comments on my feedback and my comments, content, as I'm always looking to improve.